All right, so here we've got another one where we're going to use the product property primarily, but there's quite a few other pieces involved. So it's sort of a multiple use of that product property, but the function that we're given is k of x is equal to minus 2x, open parentheses, h of x plus 2x squared times g of x. And we're asked to find k prime. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just remember that what we have to find using product property, at least as a guideline, there's a product within a product. So we're gonna go ahead and deal with that. But basically the rule that we're using is that if we have j of x, that to find j prime of x, given that j of x is f of x times g of x, that we find f prime of x, leave g alone, and then you would leave f alone and find g prime. I think in other videos, I may switch the order over here on the second product, but that's just the use of commutative property. So anyway, that's the way it makes sense to me. So we'll do that, and then of course it should be fairly obvious that that's f, and then this is going to be g. But then it's important for you to recognize that this is a product of a function and another function actually called g, so that makes it even more confusing. So maybe I could have used different lettering over here. But anyway, I think it's still clear enough to make sense and to note that I need the derivative of that function, leave this function alone, and then just for space, I'm going to do it down here, then leave f alone, and maroon g, we need the derivative of it. And I'm not doing anything to it at this point, except to mark it up so we know that that's we're taking derivatives of the thing inside the parentheses. Okay, so k prime of x. So I have to work with this first. So that's easy, that's minus 2. And then we just copy the rest of the thing inside the parentheses. And then leave the minus 2x. I need the plus sign. And then leave the minus 2x alone. We'll go ahead and put that in parentheses. And I want the derivative of this in here. So it's a sum of two functions. So I need h prime of x. In other words, I'm first focusing on this. But I have to go back and remember that this is a product of two functions, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use brackets to apply the product property again. And I don't know how far I need to go, but we'll go ahead and put it that far. So I need to take the derivative of 2x squared. I could do it now, but I'm just going to write it out. Leave g of x alone. Plus, leave the first function alone. And find g prime of x. All right, so we'll kind of simplify as we go. And what I mean by simplify is we're going to go ahead and distribute that. I think that will help to some extent. So it's negative 2 h of x plus it's actually a minus 4 x squared g of x. And then I think we'll just leave this minus 2x here. H prime is just H prime. And we'll work inside the parentheses. So this is going to be 4x, g of x. And then I may have excluded, oh no, that's fine. This is a minus. I'm sorry, this is a plus because we're working off of this. So that's going to be just 2x squared g prime of x. And the problem actually has a table. So where we actually have to plug some of these things in, but I'm having to think before I go through that part. I'm having to think about whether or not I want to distribute the minus 2x. I don't know that that would provide me with any simplification. So maybe let's just leave it where it is. You might want to distribute that, but we'll just leave it like that. So there's a few things that are given. And they are values for, it's a table. So let me see if I can bring in the table, or at least the pieces that I need. So I've brought in the table on the bottom right-hand corner, a table that looks like what you might get in a problem like this. And so let's suppose that we're asked to find k prime of, say, -1, which I think is doable here. So k prime of -1. So that's going to be -2 times h of -1. Now this is just going to be -1 squared. This is g of -1. We'll figure out what all these are evaluated to. And maybe I was gonna work on some of the sort of low-lying fruit ones like this one here. That's easy to get, but we might as well just plug in the -1. And I'm afraid I'm running out of space, so hopefully I can get it all in. I think I can probably right up here. 4 times -1, g of -1, 2 times -1 squared. So it's a pretty long expression, but I think if we start working at the pieces, it's going to be simplified here. So h of -1. So that's going to be 3. And let me just make sure I'm still showing the paint screen. So h of -1 is 3. And then -1 squared is 1 times 4, so that's -4. And then g of -1 is here. And now we're working over here. So this is 2. Parentheses h prime of 1. So that's over here. That's 3. And then working inside the bracket, I've got 4 times -1. That's -4. Times g of -1. So we already did that. That's -2. So we're over here. And then 2 times -1 squared plus 2. That's just 2 because -1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. And we're multiplying it by g prime of -1, which is down here. So we're using that whole column. We're using the whole column. And it's kind of nice to see this came out of f prime and g and f and g prime. So the 4 terms are there, and that's kind of helpful for me to make sure to feel confident that I have all the right pieces. And yeah, there was some distributing, so it's hard to see the initial part, but that's okay. All right, so we're almost done here. So this is -6 plus 8 plus 2 times 3 plus, let's see, this is 8, positive 8 plus 2. So it's 10. So this is, let's go ahead and write this as 2. That takes care of these 2. Plus 2 times 13, which is 26. So I'm getting 28 is the answer. Of course, there's a lot going on and lots of room for error, unfortunately, as I say. But I think we got all the process correct and we inputted the right number. So I'm almost certain this is pretty close to being 100%. And that's how you do this kind of problem.